told them.
Hold on, let me get my
And-
glasses.
It took the nurse like 20 minutes to come.
All right, good morning, everybody. Sunny day today. It's Thursday, January 18th, and I'd like to bring the Legal Affairs and Claims Committee to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Gumbs. Roth,
Roth here.
Duffy,
Duffy here.
Williams,
Williams here.
Pirog.
I'm here.
You have an in-person quorum?
Thank you. Do we have any remote attendance requests?
No.
Seeing none, very good. Is there may I have a motion to second to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2024?
Roth will make a request for unanimous approval of the minutes from November 14th.
We have a unanimous approval, gentlemen? Yes, okay, very good. Is there any public comment? I'm not aware of any.
Madam Chair, Surges?
Mr. Surges, you have public comment?
Nope, just will be participating in 7B when appropriate. Thank you.
All right, okay, very good. Seeing no public comment, may I please have a motion and a second to go into executive session for pending litigation and release of closed session minutes?
Williams moves to go into closed session to review closed session minutes and pending and
Deputy
discuss pending
seconds.
litigation.
Deputy seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Tepe. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Duffy,
We're here.
Duffy, yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right, you can go into closed session.
Right, here we go.
All right, everybody online, please accept the invites. I'll let you know when we're ready to go. And reminder, if you're in the room on your computer, you must also join the closed session.
That doesn't mean we listen to you.
Shoulder pad on.
I'm missing one online person needs to join the closed session.
There he is.
My solar panels, every kilowatt hour I send to them, I get a kilowatt hour back.
You can never make money on it, though. You can just
Can't
offset.
make money
your-
on it. Now, and now, not for me, but for anybody new one, every
it's-
kilowatt hour they send them, you get a
Is that
half a
correct?
kilowatt hour.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Basically, they're using your solar for free.
Dog. Half of the solar.
Yeah, ComEd's getting into free energy.
All right, you are in open session.
All right, we're back in open session. Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Gums, Roth,
Roth here.
Deputy here.
Williams,
Williams here.
Kirag.
Here.
In-person quorum.
All righty, may I please have a vote on the release of closed session minutes?
Williams moves for the release of the closed session minutes as set forth on Exhibit A.
Thank you.
Roth will second.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Any discussion on this? None. Clerk, call the roll.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Williams.
Yes.
May I please have a motion and a second to discuss an ordinance amending section 2-193?
Roth will make the motion.
Thank you.
Williams seconds.
Thank you. All right, I believe we have some discussion. Mr. Surges?
Madam Chair, I originally had pulled this off of the county board agenda and asked that it go back and just be reworked a little bit. My intent is that while we want to make this as easy as possible, or easy is not the right word, I'm sorry, I apologize, streamlined as possible, I think that there is the necessity for the state's attorney's office to confer with both finance and human services. Finance for obvious reason, human services because that's where the majority of these claims originate, prior to settlement. I am not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that these come back to an elected committee or or to the executive committee in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply asking that department heads have the ability to review within each other and make sure that there's a checks and balance system there. I thought when we originally discussed this, the settlement amount was in the $20,000 range, maybe 20 to 25. As I'm reading this now, this looks like it's up to $50,000. Maybe I have that wrong, but I don't have any problem if we can establish, a working group of those three departments, and giving them up to a $20,000 to $25,000 settlement authorization that can then come to us as a report. Rather, this way expediting this a little bit, and hopefully I'm articulating that properly. Mr. Williams, is that in the spirit of what our discussion was?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what you said is that I understood you wanted to have the department heads have some input. My prior recommendation was that prior to settling the claim that the members of this committee be contacted by the state's attorney's office and given a notice of their intent to settle the claim, and we would have essentially a veto power if there were facts or circumstances that anyone on the committee felt warranted bringing it to the Legal Affairs Committee. And I think those situations would be few and far between. That suggestion never made the draft that was presented to the county board. I would have no problem with Mr. Surges' recommendation that essentially that same procedure be implemented, but include the department head that's affected by the settlement. Is that what I think I'm capturing what you're suggesting, Cliff, correctly?
Yeah, you are, but I do want to include human services from the perspective, and whoever's appropriate within that department, and I think Ms. Labrillo is in the room and can speak to it. But the point is, if the claim originates at human services, their fingers should be on that as it's walking through the process rather than simply circumventing. And then I do feel that finance should be involved so that we're keeping, so that they are abreast of what the trends are that we're seeing. and making sure that those fund balances are not being compromised.
I think that's a procedural item and I don't see that on that ordinance that should be included, that step process, the approval process of going into finance, check mark, speaking if it is human services, check mark, and then being brought forward potentially to this committee before it gets just a stamp of approval and then it can be paid out.
I
We
mean, I
do have
think,
to have some accounting.
go ahead.
Perhaps I'm confused. It's the job of this committee to handle anything between 5,000 and 50,000. Is that correct? Okay. Are we now saying that we're going to delegate some of that to our managers?
No, the state's attorney has asked for the authority to be able to settle without having the Legal Affairs Claims Committee meet to
The
up to
state's attorney wants to
50,000.
go from 5,000 to 10,000 for it's
Claims we bring
independent.
forward.
And at the same time, the committee's amount goes from 50,000 to 100,000.
Yeah, I don't.
Yep. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have no real problem with Mr. Williams' suggestion, where essentially it goes to $10,000. We have to give you guys a heads up that we would even be in the 5 to 10,000 range. You have a veto power. We can determine how much time you have to veto it, and then we can just bring it in for approval, formal, and any member could veto it. I really don't want to get into a point where I have to go to like 3 or 2 different divisions for something as little as $1,000. And so I would rather keep it more the way we have it right now than kind of overhaul the whole thing. The goal was just simply to increase the numbers because as time has gone on, a $5,000 settlement is, you know, what used to be a $2,500 settlement, and a 10,000 is essentially what used to be a $5,000 settlement. So we were trying to essentially keep up with the times a little bit. Most of our small claims cases are in that realm. We're not asking for really much more than the 10 because I had the attorneys who do these cases a lot give me kind of the threshold of where the number tends to lie. We don't have very many cases that we settle above $10,000, except for larger cases that you would want to know about that we would even probably bring before the entire county board, even if it was under 100. So I would rather keep it largely the way it is, where we go to you all. I like the veto idea personally. It's something quick. It's never a situation where we have to make a split-second decision. But I would like something in there if there ever is. But it rarely, if ever, happens. If that's the case, I have no problem with setting it up that we have to contact Madam Chair ahead of time. No different than like some of the emergency purchase affidavit type situations that people have to do with their standing committee chairs. Believe me when I tell you, this was not meant to create a problem. This was simply trying to solve a solution. But it's kind of become a bigger thing than I intended. My biggest thing is I do not want to have the state's attorney answering to non-legal staff. I have no problem with getting, providing information, but I don't want to have to get consent from them. That's my big issue.
I don't think the intention was consent. I think just notification.
Sure.
That this is happening. And I can appreciate finance of just knowing what these costs are.
Well, my other comment is there really aren't that many cases that have gone to this committee to where it's presented any kind of a burden or problem in my mind. So.
Yeah, part of it is the only real burden we've kind of noticed is judges like to put us on the spot sometimes. And we kind of have to do the whole, judge, we can't do anything until we talk to the board. And they're like, okay, well, we'll give you a 14-day date or 28 date. And it's not the biggest deal in the world. We just thought that this might streamline it a little bit, specifically when it comes to CCMSI type stuff, where it's like guardrails, that kind of thing. But if you guys want to keep it as is, that's fine too.
Okay.
So, Mr. Williams, you had your hand up.
Well, I would just say that, a perfect example is Ms. Tabor brought forth, 2 cases, the county was plaintiffs, someone damaged KDOT property. I mean, we're settling the case for $1,500. We're assembling this committee
That
for
I agree.
$1,500 claims. I think those are perfect examples of claims that, they should just settle. Now, if we're talking about a claim against an employee or things of that nature, then I think maybe, yeah, for sure, we should have Jamie's input, we should have Cliff's input. But for those sort of rote claims that are no brainers, if you will, I don't see why we just don't give them the authority.
So it is, and Mr. Sturgis, I see your hand up, and excuse me, I'm having problems reading this ordinance, and I don't have it in front of me in print. Is it up to $5,000 or $10,000? What are we looking at exactly?
So I think the original draft was simply to just double the amount. So legal affairs would also then have authority up to 100,000, whereas the SAO would just have authority up to 10.
To 10.
You have any problem with that?
All right, so I think that's the question. Just a quick poll, and Mr. Sturgis, hold on, I see your hand up. Do you feel comfortable up to 10, or do you want to reduce it to 7,500, 5,000?
Are you asking me personally?
No, sir.
I would give them up to 20. I don't see that. This is not an issue of that. I just want to make sure that where the claim is originated, that department, and if Jamie's in the room, I would love to just have her chime in, because I don't want to be saying we should be doing this if she disagrees with me. I'm the elected, they're the department heads. I am just trying to make sure left hand and right hand are speaking, and I don't want to speak out of turn. So,
Oh, okay, hold on, Mr. Sturgis. What we're asking about is just the amount, whatever the.
I
amount
have no,
would be.
I have no problem with 10,000. I mean, I would raise it to 20 personally.
Mr. Tepe, are you okay with 10?
Yes.
Okay, well, then I think we're fine. Yeah, I think we're fine with this. Are we in agreement to pass it forward to exec?
Madam Chair, I would like to hear from Ms. Labrillo. If we could. I mean, does she? is
Regarding
this
your
important?
comment?
Yeah, is this important that she review it, or am I just like, I should just be quiet? You know what I mean?
My suggestion was, to Mr. Williams' point, if there was a veto email or something that went around, that we just be included on it. We are embarking on risk management and things like that, similar to cases that have been discussed here in the past. We want an opportunity to ask if policies and procedures have been changed to prevent this from happening in the future. Other things like that that are procedural in nature. The Human Resources Department is the county board's assigned claims manager. That is the current process that's in place. Every claim comes through us. We are the ones who contract with our third-party administrator and work with them on a daily basis. And in an effort to make sure we are not only aware, but that we have an ability to address things that happen when we have claims filed. So certainly in no way, shape, or form does my department have any intention of getting in the way of legal decisions being made. In the legal advice of the state's attorney, I think we always work really good and hand in hand with the state's attorney's office, reply to them promptly, and respect their advice and their expertise on it. We are looking more from a procedural standpoint, both to make sure that, similar to the questions that are asked in this committee, that those questions are asked on behalf of the county. So we are the county's claim representative, and just want to be a part of that discussion to make sure that all of that administrative things are taken care of. And we can also check and make sure that there is fund balance. So we manage the insurance liability fund, where we have money that we spend year round out of that fund to pay our claims administrator, to pay things like our workers' comp claims and other items that are insurance liability, like notary bonds. So we utilize that fund throughout the year. So making sure that that is not overtaxed early in the year and that funds remain to pay for the things that we're obligated to pay for would be another important step. That our department, you could certainly include finance for that, or our department could do that because we have access to that fund and work to make sure that fund stays within budget.
And we have no problem providing that information. So if you want to do the notification system, we'll just tack them on. I'll add Jamie to all the emails. That's not a problem.
Should that be a formalized policy so it's written? Because I don't.
It's up to you. I mean, I have no problem enforcing
think
it with
should-
my
I think
staff.
it should be formalized.
That's
just
fine.
In writing. So there's a written procedure that we all agree to follow.
Perhaps it could be an exhibit or something to the ordinance so that it's a part of the process.
We can just honestly put it in the ordinance. I don't think it'll take much time. If somebody wants to make a motion, that just simply requires, I mean, what do you want the turnaround to be though? 24 hours, 48 hours, a
Well,
week?
what would you need? What would,
I mean, the only reason we're even doing this is in those like weird situations where we're kind of getting put in a spot. A 24-hour or 48 hours probably fine.
is 2 business days enough, Ms. Labrillo?
Yes, yeah,
Then I would suggest 2 business days. Because if it's a Friday, obviously, you know, we'd
correct.
want to the end of the day, Tuesday or something, you know.
Correct.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll just bury it on Friday afternoon.
No, thank you.
No, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, very good. All right, so we need a motion and a second to amend this ordinance, and then you'll bring it forward to executive.
Yeah, what we'll do is if you want to, why don't we essentially kind of lay out the substance of this, and then my staff or Jamie's staff will work the language up such that for executive, it'll be essentially what we discussed.
Okay, so do you want to,
I'll move to, I'll move in favor of this ordinance, subject to the amendments Mr. Frank just spoke of.
could you detail approximately what they are for the record?
We are going to add a veto provision, 48-hour business hour notice. Any member of this committee or Ms. Labrillo could require any settlement to come to the full legal claims committee. Is that correct?
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
sounds
second
good.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
Approve.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Approve? Okay. All right, you have approval for that. So we have to now, pending that amendment.
So
we have a-
you need to
we-
actually take a vote on the
vote.
amendment.
So do we have a vote on the ordinance as amended, please?
Roth, yes.
No, we have to vote on the amendment.
We can vote on the amendment.
You need to vote on the
I
amendment.
thought we just did.
He
You had
gets
to
a
take a
roll
roll call.
call.
Oh, full, okay.
Roth, yes.
Tepe,
Zeppi, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes.
Okay,
As amended?
we have full roll call. All right, now may I please have a vote on the ordinance as amended?
Williams moves to,
Oh, it's already.
We already
oh,
have that.
yeah, it is moved.
Just a
Sorry.
vote.
Sorry.
Roth, yes.
Zeppi, yes.
Williams, yes.
Okay, very good. Yes, it passes.
Thank you, guys.
We're getting ahead of you, Savannah.
Thank you, Cliff. All right, I see nothing else. With that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Roth will make the motion to adjourn.
Williams
Second, please.
seconds.